Tom West is ready.
Okay.
I think that's where we are on the agenda, and I'll try to bring up an appropriate slide.
Okay.
Do you see a slide?
Yeah, you can hold the slides for the moment. Our consulting team has completed 3 implementation projects for your strategic plan. But before we talk a little bit about those results, I want to give a little context. The state goal is to have 98% of all households have access to broadband. In the case of Mendocino County, the last official report, December of 2018, 75%, which meant that Mendocino County was 7th from the bottom of 58 counties. The digital information infrastructure plan was the basis for what we undertook. And I want to try to summarize the planning assumptions that we used.
May I interrupt, Tom?
Yes.
The agenda actually lists 3 items, and the 3 plans are the second item. The first item is a report on the status of the grant application.
May I twist?
Absolutely, you have the floor. Just, you can interweave the items as you like. I just wanted to try to keep in line with the agenda. My oversight. Sorry.
I'm going to cover all the points that you've made.
Thanks.
The project planning assumptions included these. 100% of the unserved households are to be connected via underground fiber installation. We were very sensitive to the tower issue. So all of these projects are based on fiber underground. Assumption 2, the design is to preserve and future-proof. In other words, to have a capability that can withstand wildfires and unforeseen disasters for decades to come. And according to the assessment by Magellan Advisors for Napa County, 30% of the telecommunications infrastructure was damaged in the 2017 wildfires. The underground infrastructure was not damaged. So that gives us a basis for having that argument of underground. The deployed fiber-based infrastructure is only designed to reach and serve unserved households. That's a limitation of the CPUC program. So our plans do not necessarily enable us to go for houses that are already served, but the infrastructure in many instances does in fact pass many houses that are served by existing providers. So people will have a choice going forward. We just have to be silent on that at the moment. The projects do not use other providers' facilities for a county-wide backbone or last mile distribution system connectivity. We've made the assumption that the technology in Mendocino County is old, dilapidated, and needs to be totally replaced. So thus, there's probably a fairly high cost involved. Furthermore, providers like AT&T and Comcast do not share their infrastructure with others. They may sell you services, but they don't share and give you autonomy to use that infrastructure. The fiber approach is to provide up to 1 gig symmetrical internet connectivity and voice service to all these unserved households, plus hundreds of small businesses and anchor institutions. So we're not talking about 6 megabits down and 1 up. We're not talking about 25 and 3. We're talking about the possibility of a gig both ways. And the standard offering is 100 megs up and 100 megs down. That's the standard we're putting forward. These projects recognize that in Mendocino County, 82% of the businesses have 9 or fewer employees. So you have some very unique needs for broadband distributed across the county. These projects also provide infrastructure and services to 8 Native American tribes located in the county. Low-income customers, those that are below the poverty line, will get 25 megabits down, 25 megabits up for $15 a month. So those were the planning assumptions that we undertook. Now, Jeff, what were the 3 things I was supposed to talk about?
Okay, I think that it was listed as status of project 1 grant application,
Okay,
the 3 planning projects, and then outlook for CASIF and RDOF funds going forward.
let me talk about the, we have a project 1, which is on your screen, to serve 3,943 households, and you'll see the location of those for $158 million. That was submitted, a resubmit in August. The commission decided to take money out of the infrastructure pot to try to match the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund that the FCC is putting forward, and therefore deferred decisions on 39 of the 54 grant applications that had been made. Our grant is one of those 39. Our grant application is the largest that's ever been submitted. The issue will be whether or not there will be sufficient funds available when they make this decision, which they've said will be done on March 31st, 2021. To date, we've had no negative feedback about that application. So we're sort of in limbo in that respect. We're alive. They haven't said no. They haven't said yes. And they haven't even said maybe. So we're being optimistic and saying that in effect, this is a worthy project. They've got to figure out how to find funds to undertake it. And perhaps new legislation will help make that happen with new money. Any questions with regard to the status of the project?
What is the cost per household served?
40,000.
And so what I typically hear is when we throw out numbers is, well, we need to find a more creative solution. We need to figure out how to bring that cost down. Do you think we can do it for less, or is this just the cost to serve Mendocino County?
Well, I think let me say this. There are other solutions to this problem. You could go wireless. You could put the fiber in the air, aerial. So you could reduce the cost, but you're also reducing the what I call the future proof. And $40,000 per household, that's total connectivity. And that's not too far out of square with other submissions that have been made for much smaller projects. And this is the cheapest one of the 3, by the way. When you get to project 2 and project 3, it gets to be much more expensive because the houses are so widely distributed.
Tom, this is Calvin. I was hoping to just make a quick note on yours. Is the as we are preparing this grant application, or as Tom is, and we are, doing this through the consortium, we're also at the same time trying to read the tea leaves of the grant agencies and also the priorities of the counties. So infrastructure hardening and resilient infrastructure is one priority among the counties, or in Mendocino County and Sonoma, or I guess all the consortium counties. But also, as far as reading the tea leaves of the grant agencies, a lot of the focus has been on fiber assets and primarily fiber optics. And there has been a kind of the stigma against fixed wireless services and funding those. So as we submitted this grant application, it kind of spotlighted, hey, if fiber is what you want, we also have to coordinate with the counties on their priorities of resilient infrastructure. If that's what you want, this is what it's going to cost essentially. And I think this was the best exercise for the grant agencies to see the actual cost of the high cost rural areas. And so from here on, now that they know what it is, I think they're open to innovative approaches to reduce the costs. But again, they want to make sure that it's future proof. The counties want to make sure it's resilient. So I just wanted to put that out there, that's what we're working off of when designing the network, or that Tom and his staff as well.
What is the total cost for all three projects?
$521 million.
So when the state talks about broadband for all and our needs, the answer is we need about $500 million.
For Mendocino County, correct. And we may need as much as $14 billion for the state. I did a back of the envelope report on that. So from my perspective, it's an issue of people have been trying to skin this cat for nothing. And it's about time they start learning that it's going to cost money to serve these unserved households, particularly in rural California. It just isn't, it's not inexpensive. So yeah, I mean, if you want 6 in 1, but a student, I would hope that Michelle would say this, a student is a producer of information, not just a consumer, because they have to send papers back up to the teacher. And we already know that even 3 megabits back up is insufficient for them to do the kind of distance learning that they have necessarily had to do, plus the standard testing.